Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Welcome back to the second September edition of the channel for 2024 as we get set up for what will be a very busy upcoming week. For right now though, no real news, and that just leaves us to continue discussing. Obviously yesterday, realizing that the calendar flipped to September and the fact that summer is truly over and we're about to get this hockey thing underway, that was quite a realization when I got out of bed yesterday. So, yeah, today let's talk about training camp battles, I guess. Might as well, right? Training camp battles coming up for the Oilers. Not really as many as maybe in years previous, but there are still a few for the Oilers when it comes down to deciding how the roster will shape up, kind of in a couple of key positions that I know with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl at the top of the forward group, and with, of course, Bouchard and Ekholm at the top of the defense, it doesn't really get a lot of attention. But I want to just talk on it a little bit here today. Obviously, the first one being the fourth line center role. I believe everybody's pretty keyed in on having Derek Ryan there for another year, the veteran experience, all that. But I would not be surprised, and this is where I'm just talking, and again, if you don't like that, that's your own prerogative, but I think it's a very simple case to make that it is not guaranteed that Derek Ryan will be the Oilers' fourth line center to start the year. I'm sure at some point he'll slot in there multiple times over the course of the season, but one would figure that James Hamblin, who kind of ended last season on a low note, will probably get the good opportunity to continue where he was about, about mid-November last season, as the fourth line center, as he was just kind of coming onto the scene. He had 3 points in 12 or 15 games or something like that. I think he will get a very strong look to be a part of that Oilers top 12 players. And as much as you can give a player a strong look, I think he has to very much so earn it as well. You got to remember, Derek Ryan just went to the Stanley Cup Finals with the Edmonton Oilers, so there's a little bit of difference there in terms of experience and obviously age and all that. But I think James Hamblin definitely with the Oilers will get a very good look to see what he is capable of doing with this Oilers roster. And then obviously as well, if the Oilers can somehow, with the salary cap space they've got available to them, and maybe making another move here before training camp, which is still the strong lying rumor right now for the Oilers. I think you could see a guy like Matthew Savoy, a guy like Raphael Lavoie, those guys really make a push to be a part of the Edmonton Oilers roster. And one guy who I know everybody sits here and gets up in arms about the contract, it is only 1.15 plus bonuses, not 1.4, that being Corey Perry. I don't know if Corey Perry is necessarily guaranteed a spot on the Edmonton Oilers this season. You look at kind of how his playoff performance went. You kind of look at what Corey Perry is at his age in the NHL now. I don't know if that guarantees him a spot on the Oilers' fourth line automatically. That's really the simplest argument I can make for you right there. Is it just doesn't seem to compute that you're going to keep Raphael Lavoie in the minors another season over Corey Perry when you could run Hamblin Lavoie in the fourth line and probably have better results offensively. And I mean, I guess there is something to be said defensively, but I guess too, is Corey Perry really a defensive answer either over Corey Perry and Derek Ryan versus a guy like James Hamblin and Raphael Lavoie. So those two, right, the right wing and the center position on the fourth line, those are two spots that I could definitely see a battle forming. Not necessarily saying that Derek Ryan will lose his spot or Corey Perry will lose his spot, just saying that there is a potential for a battle there. And as well, if the Oilers choose to go with Hamblin and Raphael Lavoie, there is cap savings by burying Derek Ryan and Corey Perry. Now that's a little bit too advanced of a talk, but we'll save that for when training camp shapes up. And the other real battle, right, if those are the two ones up front that I can really see, the other battle is, of course, on the defense, and it's not in that top four right-hand shot defense spot. It is, in fact, the top six next to Brett Kulak. I think everybody assumes that Troy Stetcher and Josh Brown will split time, But ultimately, if you're going to split time or you're going to have a 60-40 share, somebody has to start opening night. Barring injury and both are healthy, who do you start, Stetcher or Brown? And I would assume that training camp under Chris Knobloch and Paul Coffey will determine who starts in game one. And that's really the battle, is not necessarily who gets more time over the course of the season because of training camp, more so who ultimately gets that opening night lineup selection on the third pair next to Brett Kulak at the end of the day. And now, yes, there is the potential that a trade, which we've been talking about, still changes that before the training camp, before the season starts. And all of a sudden now you're not worried about that. You're worried about Ty Emberson and how he's looking next to Brett Kulak. That's very possible. And I think that's very as well an argument that can be had. But you look at it, right? I think we're pretty comfortable based on everything that's happened this offseason, having Troy Stetcher, having Josh Brown as a possible platoon role in the top six. But at the end of the day, one does have to start game one versus the other. So that's where the training camp battle I could see definitely coming down right there. And the other one that I might be really intrigued in is it might not be a battle that really does much for the Oilers in games 1 through 15, but one guy you got to figure is going to get ice time in the NHL as well this year is Olivier Rodrigue. And when it comes down to Rodrigue, is a strong training camp, a strong first 3-4 weeks in the AHL. Obviously, he's going to be the automatic call-up in case of injury, but you got to think a strong first few weeks is going to make it a lot easier to play him if you've got a back-to-back when an injury happens or something like that. And Olivier Rodrigue can really make his case to become a permanent member of the Oilers moving forward over the next, I guess it's September 2nd, so the next 2 to 3 months for Olivier Rodrigue, starting with training camp this month, are going to be absolutely crucial. So not really a roster battle, more so just a spot where a guy's got to excel to maintain the trajectory he's on. And ultimately, yeah, I know Kelvin Pickard's signed to the contract he is, but you could definitely see a reality where Rodrigue's backing up Skinner next year and Kelvin Pickard has made some decisions on either playing in the AHL or moving on or requesting a trade, whatever, as he well can because of his status in the NHL, obviously doing what he's done over the course of his career. So those are kind of the points I want to hit on. Obviously, the training camp battles are going to be the most fun part of this training camp, knowing that the Edmonton Oilers should, could, and would start better this year than they did last year. And obviously, we are off and running in less than 5 weeks' time. So stay tuned. Thanks for being aboard, friends. Appreciate you hanging out. I will catch you in the next one.